The worst thing you can do to an AI solution is assume that it's swappable, that it's a swappable tech, that you can just plug in AI into your organization, turn the key, and expect it to work and run fine. Every time you put something new into your organization, there's always a benefit and always a cost. And those costs, those downsides, need to be discussed and emphasized during all your conversations when you're talking about AI. You lose something when you have AI. And people don't talk about that. There are three main conversations you can have about AI. You can have the business conversation. You can have the technical AI conversation. And then there's a middle ground where you're talking about how AI is used in terms of business requirements and technical requirements. That middle ground conversation is the trickiest to have because there are always strong personalities involved in that conversation that wants to take it over. Sometimes these people hold PhDs. Some of them are proclaimed experts. Some have written books. So it's a major turf war on how things are going to be done, how AI is going to be used. So it's tricky to navigate. So the best thing to do when having some very difficult people and trying to work together, trying to stay on the same page, is to produce something called a reference architecture. Something that looks neat, something that looks credible, something that everyone will buy into and accept and allow the picture to guide them and the conversation. Here's an example of a reference architecture that I use to structure a conversation. I break up the conversation into areas that you can talk about. So here in the diagram, the AI engine, analysis, data, market, strategy and ROI is an area, marketing, ops and BUs as its own area, sales and production. So you'll see that some of these areas group up other areas together because I strongly believe that the conversations are very similar to all those part of the group. Each area has its own component, the smaller blocks, and the color means something for the area. Light blue is something that is considered the most important for that area. Now, these are what I find most important based on personal experience. It might be different at your company. So hybrid solutions, I feel, is very key and important when you're talking about AI engines. Or business intelligence is important when you're talking about data. Again, your organization, it might be different. The AI engine, the most important thing you might want to talk about is the model or the specific details of the solution. For data, it might be big data or the data lake. The gray, that's what you put in to talk about how you can contain costs and remove impediments. So for instance, if we go to the sales and production area, we see machines and tools in gray, right? Machines and tools help with productivity and help reduce costs. Then there's the green. Here in the green, this is where you put that makes your company competitive. So it could be things like improvements, could be things like specific procedures, things that would make your company competitive. And then we have the yellow. This is not what just makes the company competitive, but makes it excel and be leagues above the rest to just blow away the competition. For instance, if you look at strategy and ROI, that's business models. That could be it. Then we have the red. These are the showstoppers, the things that if something goes wrong, it goes wrong big. It impacts not just the area, but potentially everything in the diagram. For strategy and ROI, that is risk management. And the reason why I personally think it's risk management is because of the background that I went through regarding litigation and dealing with litigation processes and regulatory compliance. It's not good. I strongly stress risk management in everything I do, even in AI design. It is an art to develop these sort of diagrams, these reference architecture diagrams. I strongly advocate that you put as much as you can in a diagram. Some people do a mixture of pictures with text. I shy away from that because some people will just only see the picture anyway and ignore the text. The thing is, when you're doing a reference architecture, don't take one off the shelf that's completely filled in. That's not a good idea. You want to have one that is mostly blank. Something that you could have people fill in during the conversation. You want this because you want people to engage and have a sense of ownership in the diagram. Because once you do that, anything discussed and those outcomes that come out of the conversation, people will defend tooth and nail. Another thing is that try to keep reference architecture very visual. That's where its power seems to be. Some people like having a mixture of text that supplements the reference architecture diagram. I don't like doing that because I found a lot of people don't like reading. They like looking at the visual. Now, after the conversation's completed and all the notes were taken, well, I write a white paper that gives a summary of all the conversations and the complete reference architecture. That's where it makes sense. At the end. Some of the guidelines that I follow are the same guidelines on how you do visuals and visualizations, things involving with position, color, how your eyes navigate. You want people to do simple comparisons between the different areas. You want people to make connections. That is what makes these diagrams extremely powerful. When doing these things, the best thing you can do is do deep research into the company first and be very prepared before you start. Because once these conversations start, you don't have a second chance. You want to have a good idea of what should be in each box. That will allow you to nudge and nod people in the right direction. You may not get everything that you expect, but it is always close enough.